The PUMA Deviate NITRO 2 is designed to make running faster easier, featuring a carbon composite plate, NITRO Elite foam, and PUMAGRIP outsole. But how did it stack up in testing, and is this the go faster shoe for you? Well, let's find out. Well, hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven. First, I want to let you know that Puma did send the Deviate NITRO 2 to me to review. They're not paying me for this. They're not going to see this footage ahead of time. I'm going to share the honest thoughts and opinions just like always. Well, first off, we're going to talk about the stats of the Deviate NITRO 2. First, it is a neutral running shoe. It is a road running shoe. There is actually quite a bit of twist in that for having a carbon plate in it. And the flex, as you can see, it flexes pretty well. The stack height, on the other hand, is undetermined. I've scoured the internet, I've reached out to Puma, I have not heard back yet to confirm it, but I've seen some folks out there claiming one stack height, but that's flatly, it's wrong. It's wrong because they're claiming an 8mm drop. And this is actually a 6mm drop, and that is straight from Puma. So it's somewhere in, I think, the 36 to 38mm in the rear, and then either a 30 to 32 in the front would be my guess, somewhere in that range. But once I do get confirmation on the stack height, I will be sure to pin that comment down below, so do check down there also. While you're down there, go ahead and click the thumbs up button. That'd be cool. As for the weight, my men's size 11 weighed in at 10 ounces or 284 grams. It's okay. It is a bit lighter weight than the Puma Forever Run Nitro, but it is also a fair amount heavier than the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3. Just for reference. And I should note that the Deviate NITRO 2 does fit true to size. Size 11 fit just fine, like most size 11s do fit my foot. As for the upper of the Puma Deviate NITRO 2, it is a mesh upper, and it's you know, fairly thin. It's not the thinnest and it's not the thickest, but it is quite comfortable. And it is fairly breathable as well. It's actually really breathable. If you take a look at the tissue test, you can see when I put the hairdryer on low, that tissue came up a lot, like quite a bit actually. And then when I switched it on high, it went up even quicker, and just, yeah, it's very breathable. The shoe is breathable. When testing this in Houston, the crazy humidity and high heat of Houston, my foot did not overheat and it was fine. So these do breathe pretty darn well. And for the toe box of the Deviate NITRO 2, I felt it was pretty ample in sizing. I had no issues with rubbing of the toes, whether it's on the medial side or the lateral side. I could move my foot around in there a little bit as far as the toe box is concerned. It felt pretty good. And in the midfoot of the shoe, it kind of hugs your foot well, but not overly tight where it's going to cause issues, at least not for my foot and my foot shape. It just feels really nice and secure. And a big part of that is due to the power tape, which is the form strip here on the medial side. You can see it goes across there. That gives it a lot of support and a fair amount of durability as well. As for the lacing system of the Deviate NITRO 2, it's pretty darn good. I really had no issues with this at all. I did have some issues with the Forever Run Nitro, not the case on the Deviate NITRO 2. This laced up well, stayed tight. I didn't have any weird issues with the outer part of the shoe kind of cupping and the laces getting stuck. It fit great. The laces tie well, they stay tied, they're the right length, they're not crazy long, dragging the ground. And as far as the tongue is concerned, this is kind of what's known as like a lay flat tongue. It's very minimally padded, but I gotta say, Puma did a fantastic job with this tongue. It's padded in just the right spot. There's a right in the center, there's a fair amount of padding. And then on the sides as well, there's a little bit, and it's just the right amount in the perfect spots. So as far as lay flat tongues are concerned, this is one of the better ones out there in my opinion. I really like this, and HOKA, you could take some hints from Puma here. They did a good job. Plus, I need to mention the tongue is semi-gusseted on both sides. Moving around to the rear of the shoe and the heel cup here, it's decently padded. It felt really good on the foot. I didn't have any issues with discomfort back there. And that's one issue I've read that is vastly improved upon the original Deviate NITRO. I didn't have the opportunity to test that shoe, but I saw a lot of people had issue in the heel cup with the comfort and heel slippage and just a lot of problems from what I read. Again, I haven't tried it. But the Deviate NITRO 2, I had no issues with that. My foot stayed secure, no rubbing issues really to speak of. It was pretty comfortable. I will say though, on my right foot, it did aggravate my Achilles just a little bit, and it was really at the top. So I don't know if it was just my foot shape. Maybe I had it laced up improperly, but it was really only the first couple of times that I wore it, so it's not been that big of an issue now. But just to keep in mind, I did experience a little bit of an Achilles rub on the right foot for my foot. And the heel counter in the back is pretty flexible. You can see there's a good bit of give there, but honestly, with the lacing system, all of this together, it's a really good secure lockdown. And rounding out the upper, I just want to point out there are actually a few reflective bits for safety. The little Puma here on the front, this part here and in the back. It's fairly reflective, so people will see you when you're out running those miles on the night roads. Well, let's move on to the midsole of the Deviate Nitro 2. And I gotta be honest, this midsole took a little bit of time for me to warm up to. So the midsole is a dual layer supercritical foam. On the bottom, we have Puma's Nitro foam. This is a nitrogen infused TPEE material, and that was the same foam used in the Deviate Nitro. So you're familiar with that. It's the same foam used in the Forever Nitro and a lot of Puma's shoes out there. And then on top of the Nitro foam sits the carbon composite power plate. That is a mixture of about 70% carbon to 30% TPU material. And what that does is that allows a little bit more flexibility than a standard carbon fiber plate. As you can see, the shoe bends pretty well. It's not as stiff as some other carbon plated shoes out there, but it still gives you a fair amount of responsiveness as well. And then on top of that power plate is the NITRO Elite foam. And this is a nitrogen infused PEBA material. And so that is a lighter, bouncier, and more responsive foam than the Nitro foam, so it feels really good underfoot. The result of that dual layer supercritical foam with that power plate is a responsive, comfortable shoe that can log the daily miles. You can take it out for a long run. I have, and it felt fine. Felt really good and cushioned, but then that responsiveness is there for when you want to do some up-tempo work. Like I did say though first about the midsole, it took me a little bit to warm up to. The first couple of runs, I gotta say, it felt a little less responsive than I'd hoped it would be. Let's just say that. It maybe felt very similar in ride to the Forever Run Nitro, which is fine for a daily shoe, but this doesn't have the Nitro Elite foam. It doesn't have the plate. This does, so I was expecting a little more from it. But I gotta say, the more I ran in the shoe, the more it felt like it opened up and that foam loosened up and it became more responsive. So now the ride of this has improved a good bit over those first maybe 15, 20 miles. And I quite like the Deviate Nitro 2. The ride feels very comfortable. It feels responsive if you do want to pick up and do some threshold work. You can certainly do that with these shoes, but if you also want to just go run some easy miles, it feels really good. One thing I did notice though with the midsole, which I don't really know how to describe this, so I'm gonna try to do my best, but when cornering or turning in the Deviate Nitro 2, it felt a little off. It just felt going forward, going straight, when you're going through your gait cycle, the plate's working and it all felt great. But when you're turning, you know, going through a turn, whether it's a sidewalk or whatever it is, it just felt off. I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like if you were in a car trying to turn with wheels that did not turn. It felt like you were, I don't know how to explain it. I know I'm not doing a good job. It just felt a little off, and it still does when I corner in the Deviate Nitro 2. But other than that, it's the only thing I've noticed, and that's kind of trying to be a little nitpicky, but otherwise the overall ride felt really good. But for those easy miles, this shoe has the comfort that I desire, that I want, and plenty of response to do those threshold workouts if you're going to. Obviously, there's gonna be shoes out there that are gonna be better for threshold workouts. This isn't the fastest shoe out there, but it can get the job done pretty darn well. As for the grip of the Puma Deviate Nitro 2, it features Puma's PUMAGRIP. This is their ATR all-terrain compound. And this is very different than most shoes with a carbon plate in them. Most are like the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3 here, which you can see is very minimal, very flat. We'll just say that. These are, I would say, probably 2 millimeter lugs, maybe, give or take. A lot more traction to it than most plated shoes out there. And these felt great running on roads when it's in rain, light snow, even on urban trails, you know, dust, gravel, dirt, they felt fine. So if you're looking for a road shoe that you can take on some trails, some urban trails, some light trails, these would be fantastic and work really well, and you could still do some pretty fast miles in them. As for the PUMAGRIP compound, it's known to be one of the more grippy compounds out there. I would say it's probably a little below Vibram, but a very grippy compound. So I don't expect any issues from this. I've had no issues. Looking at it overall right now, I think it's gonna wear really, really well. I think you will easily get 450 miles, probably 500 miles out of this midsole, and it's just gonna last you a long time, give you plenty of grip. So as for the price of the Deviate Nitro 2, right now it retails for $160 US. Just for reference, the Forever Run Nitro from Puma is $150. and the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3 is $170. I gotta say, I really like the ride, the feel, the overall shoe much better in the Deviate Nitro 2 versus the Forever Run Nitro. So I totally think this is worth $10 more than the Forever Run Nitro. So the bottom line of the Deviate Nitro 2 is I think this is a very versatile daily training shoe that can definitely do those faster miles, and it provides plenty of comfort for those longer miles. I would say the overall feel is very similar to the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3, kind of why I've been talking about this shoe a little bit. But I will say the Endorphin Speed 3 does feel faster underfoot. I think a lot of that is due to the weight, because this is a fair amount lighter weight than the Deviate Nitro 2. However, I will say the durability is going to be far superior in the Deviate Nitro 2. This shoe will last you twice as long easily as this shoe. If you can see this here, this is the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3. I've got over 250 miles, probably 280 miles in these, and I'm seeing a lot of wear to the outside edge and the front of the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3s. This outsole is wearing fast. That's not gonna happen with the Deviate Nitro 2. This is gonna last you a lot longer, still give you a very pleasant, very good, responsive ride underfoot. So if you're looking for one shoe out there, maybe you can only get one shoe to go do your daily training miles, but yet you want to go race a half marathon, a couple races here and there, this shoe is going to be a fantastic choice. So if you tried the Deviate Nitro 2, what are your thoughts? Let us know below in the comments. How did you get on with the shoe? Was it responsive for you? Did you have any issues? Any issues with that cornering like I tried to describe very poorly, I'm sure? But let us know below in the comments. I know everyone would be really appreciative to see that. Well, that is going to do it for the Deviate Nitro 2. I hope you found this helpful. If so, please don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, give it a little like. That does help out a lot. Maybe click subscribe too if you're new, and you'll see more content like this in the future. And maybe consider clicking that join button down below as well and help support the channel, help me make content like this. That would be cool and I would appreciate it. And thank you again to Puma for sending the shoes. I do appreciate the opportunity to test them. Well, if you have not already, since we've talked about it a couple of times and I think it's kind of similar, why don't you go ahead and take a look at the full review of the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3 on your screen. And then on this side of the screen, I'll put a playlist of some other shoe reviews as well. Thank you again. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you on the next one.